Location: Holmby Hills, Los Angeles, California. Date: June 25, 2009. Victim: Michael Joseph Jackson, age 50. Status: officially ruled homicide. Some deaths shock the world. Others divide it. But some deaths become something even larger. A mystery people never emotionally recover from. June 25, 2009. Los Angeles. Inside a rented mansion in Holmby Hills, the most famous entertainer on earth lies motionless in bed. No stage lights. No screaming crowds. No music. Just panic. Because moments earlier, people inside the house reportedly believed Michael Jackson was resting. But something had gone terribly wrong. A doctor is desperately attempting CPR. Security guards are calling emergency services. And somewhere inside that mansion, the final hours of Michael Jackson's life are collapsing into chaos. Within hours, the king of pop is dead. And almost immediately, questions begin. Because Michael Jackson wasn't supposed to die that summer. He was preparing for the biggest comeback in entertainment history. 50 sold-out concerts. A global return. This is it. Millions of fans waiting. But behind the rehearsals, behind the pressure, behind the perfectionism, something darker was happening. Exhaustion, dependency, isolation, and a desperate battle with sleep. Because the deeper investigators looked into Michael Jackson's final days, the more disturbing the story became. Before the headlines, before the emergency call, Michael Jackson had already lived multiple lifetimes inside one career. Child star, global icon, cultural phenomenon. By the 1980s, Michael wasn't just famous. He became one of the most recognizable human beings on Earth. Albums shattered records. Tours became historic events. Songs like Thriller, Billie Jean, Beat It, Man in the Mirror didn't just dominate music. They shaped global culture itself. But fame at that level changes people, especially when it begins in childhood. Because while millions saw success, many people close to Michael later described someone deeply isolated behind the scenes. A perfectionist, emotionally fragile, extremely private, and increasingly dependent on controlling every detail around him. By 2009, Michael Jackson's life had become financially unstable. Years of legal battles, public controversy, spending, and declining income reportedly created enormous pressure. And then came the comeback announcement. This is it. 50 concerts scheduled in London. An event expected to generate hundreds of millions of dollars. Fans exploded with excitement. Tickets sold rapidly. The world watched closely. But behind the scenes, the preparation became physically exhausting. Michael was 50 years old. Rehearsals were intense. Long hours. Constant choreography. Creative pressure. And according to many people involved, Michael appeared physically weaker than the public realized. Some witnesses later described him as thin, fragile, emotionally exhausted. Others claimed he seemed determined to prove himself again. Because for Michael, failure reportedly wasn't acceptable. Not publicly, not privately. As rehearsals continued, another issue reportedly worsened: sleep. According to later investigations, Michael Jackson struggled severely with insomnia. Not occasional sleeplessness, extreme insomnia. And for someone under enormous stress, that problem allegedly became dangerous. Because over time, his dependence on medical assistance reportedly intensified. And at the center of that situation was one man, Dr. Conrad Murray, Michael Jackson's personal physician, a cardiologist hired to oversee Michael's medical care during preparations for the tour. At first glance, nothing about Murray appears extraordinary. Professional, soft-spoken, trusted. But after Michael's death, his role in the story would become one of the most controversial aspects of the entire case. Holmby Hills, Los Angeles. A massive rented estate. Private, controlled, Isolated. This becomes Michael Jackson's world during the final weeks of his life. And according to investigators, inside that mansion, a disturbing routine may have developed. Michael reportedly struggled to sleep naturally. And over time, stronger medical interventions allegedly became normal. Among the substances later discussed publicly: sedatives, anti-anxiety medications, sleep-inducing drugs. But one drug becomes central to everything: Propofol, a powerful surgical anesthetic typically used in hospital settings. Not bedrooms, not private homes. Hospitals use Propofol because patients require monitoring, oxygen supervision, emergency equipment. But according to investigators, Michael Jackson was allegedly receiving the drug inside his bedroom. And that revelation would later horrify medical professionals worldwide. Because Propofol is not designed to function as ordinary sleep medication. It can suppress breathing rapidly. And if something goes wrong, seconds matter. The night before Michael dies, rehearsals reportedly go well. Very well. Witnesses later say, Michael appeared energetic, focused, excited even. At one point, he reportedly tells people, "This is my final curtain call." No one realizes how haunting those words would later become. After rehearsals, Michael returns home. But once again, he reportedly cannot sleep. And according to later testimony, the situation inside the mansion grows increasingly desperate. Hours pass. Different medications are allegedly administered. But Michael reportedly remains awake, restless, anxious, unable to sleep. And eventually, Propofol allegedly enters the situation. June 25, 2009. Morning. Inside the bedroom, Michael Jackson is unresponsive. Dr. Conrad Murray later claims he notices something wrong. Michael is not breathing normally. Panic begins. CPR attempts reportedly start immediately. But almost instantly, serious questions emerge. Because according to later investigations, emergency procedures may not have followed proper medical standards. Authorities later examine timelines, phone records, medication evidence, witness statements, and inconsistencies begin appearing. Emergency services receive the call. Paramedics rush to the mansion. But the situation is catastrophic. Michael Jackson is transported to UCLA Medical Center. Fans and media begin gathering rapidly outside the hospital. Rumors spread online. News stations interrupt programming. And then, the announcement: Michael Jackson is dead. Age: 50. And the world stops. The reaction becomes immediate, massive, emotional. Fans cry openly in streets worldwide. Radio stations play Michael non-stop. Crowds gather outside. Neverland, the hospital, the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Because Michael Jackson wasn't just a celebrity. He represented childhood memories, music history, global culture, nostalgia, emotion. For many people, his death feels personal. And almost immediately, the conspiracy theories begin. Because the circumstances surrounding his death feel disturbing. Too many medications. Too much secrecy. Too many unanswered questions. Authorities begin examining the scene carefully. And what they allegedly discover inside the mansion raises alarm quickly. Medical evidence. Drug containers. Prescriptions. Propofol. Investigators focus heavily on Dr. Conrad Murray. Questions intensify rapidly. Why was Propofol being administered outside a hospital? Why was Michael allegedly receiving such dangerous substances for sleep? Was proper monitoring equipment present? Did negligence occur? The investigation becomes worldwide news. Medical experts appear across television discussing the dangers of Propofol. And gradually, the case shifts from tragedy to criminal responsibility. Dr. Conrad Murray is charged with involuntary manslaughter. The prosecution argues Murray acted recklessly, dangerously, negligently. During trial proceedings, the public hears disturbing details about Michael Jackson's final hours. Drug timelines, medical procedures, phone activity, expert testimony. The image becomes increasingly troubling because, according to prosecutors, Michael Jackson's desperate need for sleep allegedly created a medically dangerous environment, and according to the case presented, that environment ultimately became fatal. Murray's defense team argues Michael may have contributed to the overdose situation himself, but public opinion increasingly turns against the doctor. Eventually, Conrad Murray is found guilty of involuntary manslaughter. Legally, the case reaches its conclusion. But emotionally, many people remain unsettled, because Michael Jackson's death doesn't feel like a simple overdose story to many fans. It feels like the collapse of someone crushed under fame, pressure, expectation, isolation, and years of emotional instability. A child star who never truly experienced normal life. A global icon constantly watched, constantly criticized, constantly pressured. And somewhere inside all of that, sleep itself reportedly became impossible without medical intervention. Maybe the most unsettling part of Michael Jackson's death is how fragile the situation reportedly became behind closed doors. Because publicly, the world saw rehearsals' excitement a comeback. But privately, there may have been exhaustion, fear, dependency, and dangerous decisions happening inside one isolated bedroom. And by the time the world realized how serious things had become, it was already too late. What do you think about the death of Michael Jackson? Do you believe fame and pressure contributed to his tragic ending? Or do you think deeper questions still remain unanswered? Let me know in the comments. And subscribe for more true crime investigations, celebrity mysteries, cold cases, and documentary-style stories. Because some deaths don't just shock the world. Sometimes, they expose how dangerous fame can become behind closed doors.